It's really annoying. Jesus, YouTube. Jesus. God. There we go. Now there's no live chat and you can actually see the screen. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna have a meeting about trans rights because there are some countries, such as Finland, where I live, which is why I'm calling for this meeting, that demand that when a person changes their gender, they cannot legally store sperm samples or egg cell samples. Now, I have no problem with the demand that if you change your gender, you also have to do the entire biological process, if you will. That I do not have a problem with. That is your choice. I also do not have a problem with you saying that you do not accept trans rights at all. That is also your choice. But if it is possible to go through the trans operation, aka you have trans rights, and they demand you to be, once you do the operation, not fertile in the sense that you have to destroy your egg cells or sperm cells from a stored device, then I have a problem with you. The reason why I don't have a problem with you if you don't give trans rights is because that's like basically your choice, in the sense that I will not force it upon you. But if you have started the process and you are learning about the topic, then I have specifics for you. The same way, if you say you are, for example, a communist, I will, a social democrat, I will say that I disagree with you actually on certain topics. Yes, my connection is unstable, but I will hope it works. So in Finland, which is why I'm talking about this, we have a law that demands that you are sterilized if you are to go through the trans operation. So you cannot store egg cells and you cannot store sperm. And I am already in the process of declaring mild hostility over this, mild infection, if you will. But I am thinking of using my own nation to specifically veto this, in that I will say that my laws are different, and that in the case of you demanding that their examples are sterilized, we will demand that they are made a shadow copy which has their DNA, and that will do their children. You may scoff at such a note, but we will be laughing. So, we both get what we want. We will expend resources to make sure that they can breed, and you will expend resources to make sure that they cannot breed, and the stronger one will win. And in my opinion, it is usually the one who supports freedom more. So I have no qualm about that hostility. So what I'm saying here is change trans laws if you have trans laws. If you are a state, for example, that has yet to have trans laws because you are formed 5 minutes ago and you are in the Bitcoin realm, ignore this. But if you want to participate in this economy, in the sense that they are your customers as well as any other group, then change trans laws. Remove the demand for sterilization. If you do not do it, what will we do? Will we veto you? Will we openly attack you? We are now causing mild sense of inconvenience, roughly. Last I checked, we have the police, military, and I think it was some third one, but I can't remember which one. And the guys who were non-committed but asking about the opinion of the world community were State and Foreign Department, and healthcare was one of the third. And neither side had full parliamentary support yet because the issue was building. And some guys were asking for me to veto the law and specifically changing the powers, but I overruled. I do not, in general, do those things. It is not that I cannot, but rather that the outcome is usually much worse if I do it, other than giving it to your democracy or your communal vote. Outright usage of God powers usually degrades society more than it benefits. It requires a damn good reason. It is akin to driving across a red light on a busy intersection. If you have a damn good reason, even then it may not be worth it. If you literally have the nuclear football and it's 5 minutes to apocalypse, you may. The inverted map is quite weird looking. Now when I look at it, I immediately think the most developed region is the Chinese, the part from Siberia to Australia. That's immediately what I think about when I see this map. And when I look at Africa, I think crops. America, I think weird. Kind of like oil, but not quite, because oil is too viscousy. More like innovations, weird. Australia is like population and industry, but not yet. And the whole Chinese Philippines to the peninsula of the undeveloped part, it looks like it's gonna have 3 billion people. India looks like the vacation resort. Interesting. Middle East looks like it's sideways and in the middle of the map. It looks like it's 2 oceans, 2 little seas or such separating a landmass. Europe looks like it would be quite cold. I think that's the west to east map view. Much colder than it is for real, but really cold, like Siberia cold. Middle of Siberia cold. Siberia actually looks warmer on this map than Finland. But yes, trans rights. So, some of these songs are copyrighted, so the thing is gonna pause and start and pause and start. So, if you don't have them at all, I'm gonna assume you're either undeveloped or uninterested in the world economy, and I'm gonna leave it at that. That's your call. But if you have them, and you have the biological process and the legal process of changing your gender, why are you demanding that they be sterilized, as in that they don't have the choice of using their old? Are you specifically saying Unterschmen? Are you specifically saying that? Because why wouldn't they have the choice of storing it? Are you worried it's a hereditary condition? And if it is, why are you worried about it being a hereditary condition? Why is it not okay? And that leads to the bigger pile of why people suffering from psychiatric conditions are generally not accepted at sperm banks. But my opinion towards that is much the same as towards church weddings for LGBTQ. It's your call. But we're talking about a statewide ban on the ability, and that is something that I wanna bring it to the fore. One guy watching. Oh, oh, by the way, a month, if you will, in ISK value translated to local currency units per standard. If you find the TED talk and send it to me somehow, where on the background there are black holes or something inside a black hole orbiting each other, and at some point they say something along the lines of this is the interior of not sure. If you can find that one and send it to me, I will pay. I tried to find it, but I couldn't. I know it is real, but I don't know how well hidden. Probably incredibly well hidden. Incredibly well hidden. Baldy as this is not gonna be shown, I'm sure, because it's under a stated title. This might be shown. This has too many audience members. Okay, Baldy is gonna be our trans rights attempt, and he's gonna be knocked out. What if we do this entirely by parliamentary process? That's on you. I just use platforms. If you guys really want this thing to be able to show the things that it's supposed to be able to show instead of being a patchwork, you need a better platform, or you need to teach this platform better. That's on you. I just use what's available. You lose your signal fidelity. I don't, because I have a copy of my original work, which is what I'm aiming for. Even if it loses quality, the originals which I used will have the quality to show what I was intending. So I'm not worried. Nimpa, why are you turning a completely healthy, breedable genetic stock into a sock? Why are you demanding that it is a sock instead of a completely healthy breeding material? You see, if it stores the data, gets a male spouse, and the male spouse finds an egg donor, and they both have a child with that egg donor, it is different than the husband, aka having two children with the same egg donor. So why would that not be both of them having a child? Now, if you assume such a thing is what you are going for. For example, if they have stored sperm cell in such a situation and the guy gets a crossbow to his nuts, they still have a from the family sperm cell. For example, why would such a thing be completely forbidden? And looking at it from a purely scientific point of view, why would a lesser number of data points on an individual be worth more than more number of data points looking at it from a scientific point of view? We are not yet, in my opinion, much talking about. That's no particular surprise to me. So what we're talking about here is a perhaps an exclusion decision, excluding ourselves from interactions while striving to expand. So that generally lowers resources is perhaps the word. So if we don't want to go to full out war and just, fuck them bitches up, which is usually what I define as war, we have lesser options. So, dark web application. People before trans surgery who want to donate samples and want to have them samples stored and have the storing gear at home or similar. You could hear that laugh and how light it was and how easy it will be to do this, which means we needn't get involved. That's a good one. So now, what do we do with these people? These are modern day Nazis, again, for literally the 100 millionth time, going through the process of eliminating other groups' rights to breed again, saying that Nazis, there's no other word for them. I know a few. Norge is Greze. Is Greze, man! As a European, I know my Nazi. As a former Nazi-aligned nation, I especially know my Nazi. As somebody whose capital was not occupied during the war at any point, I especially know my Nazi. One of those guys who got out of the war relatively well, which says enough. So, is our current stance enough? We are at 1 out of 10 on the intensity level on our feelings of discomfort and hostility towards countries, especially my home country, that do this. You're turning a human being into a sock. You are saying to somebody else, not yourself, somebody who is already into that stuff, that their spouse cannot store their producing cells when they are unable to produce them themselves due to a medical procedure. That is wrong. So, I think that's about enough. 1 out of 10 in hostility. You know why these, I think, ought to always be done live? Or these broadcasts that I do? The material follows it by a couple of minutes instead of being. You get to see which video I'm watching, how far of it I'm watching, and then when it cuts, you can find it yourself, watch the end, and then switch back to my video if you feel like it. But you can't watch it at all when it has any copyrighted material, when it's copyright flagged, because I can't go through the effort of individually removing them. This is already clunky enough. YouTube's interface for actually uploading things is much worse than its actual user interface, which is already pretty weird, pretty bad, because if you just write black hole, not sure, diagram, TED Talk, 5 guys, it's not going to find it. But if you tell a human with those criteria, which has immediate access to all this database, it's going to immediately find it. Pretty bad. So, Vittu, niillä olisi hyvät säkä silloin. Kun kävis sillai, että siinä vaiheessa, kun Vannasee-konferenssi pidetään, Führer kuulisi siitä, ammututtaisi koko sen konferenssihenkilö, sanoisi, että hän on sanonut kerran ja hän sanoo tämän vielä vaikka uudestaan varmuuden vuoksi, että ihmisryhmiä ei lähdetä hävittää. Että tappaisi vaihe silmittömästi kaikki ne, jotka suunnittelee sitä. Sitten toteaa, että tämä homma ei toimi yksinvaltiana. Että niin kuin, jonkun verran sitä voi niin kuin, antaa muillekin sitä valtaa. Ja aloittaa hyvin hitaan prosessin Euroopan unionin suuntaan. Sanoin niille kenraaleille, että koska mä en nähnyt noin isoa virhettä, niin mä en välttämättä ole mikään kauhean nero täällä, mutta mä pidän vielä yleisen valvonnan ja sanon suurin piirtein, mitä tehdään. Se olisi joskus 4-3. Sitten lähettäisiin oikein julkisesti kaikille niin kuin liittoutuneille maille ja kommunistisille maille niin semmoisen ehdotuksen, että pidetään semmoinen neuvottelulinja auki, että mitä me oikeasti halutaan, että tämä sota loppuu. Että ei kutsuta vielä rauhanneuvotteluiksi, mutta kutsutaan kaikki kasaa, I'm talking Finnish, niin kutsutaan kaikki kasaa. That was very informative meeting voices. Anyway, I'm talking the Second World War according to my timeline, and I usually do these things in Finnish, or if it's possible in a European language, because it's more centered around my ego. And with the UK recently leaving, it's become more and more that I'm actually talking in Finnish with these things, which is interesting. So I'm gonna try to talk this through. It's quite difficult and different in English. Interesting. So in about 43, after shooting everybody in the Vannasee conference and doing what I just described in Finnish, which I assume most of you just know because English is also a familiar language and such, and deciding to slowly go with the European Union reform instead of with the German reform, and then going to a very defense in-depth oriented policy on all fronts, and trying to get a negotiated peace, I think Germany could get a very good deal. If the Führer outright shoots everybody in the Vannasee conference and says, I said this before and I'll say this again, you are not exterminating groups of people, you are using them for their production. Very openly says that. And just has them all shot. I'm not even talking anything about not persecuting people or being a douche or being a Nazi. I'm not talking about that at all. Just saying that you're going to exterminate people. Risking all-out civil war. If I know this guy's spirit and I have some hunch, he might actually do it. If I have enough of a knowledge of what his spirit was like. Saying that you're an idiot, exterminating people is moronic, you're going to use them for their slave production, and when we have enough space, you're going to move them to the exterior of our realm and kind of let them do their shit. That's what you're going to do. Just risking all-out civil war and saying that out public during the Vannasee conference as soon as he hears about it. Then going to defense in depth, and kind of sort of recommending to everyone that we find a solution to this conflict. We negotiate a peace. I see some options of what would happen. See some options on what would happen. A 3-party world government, for example, would be very interesting. It would resemble the early French republics and attempts in 1940s after 20 million people had died, and cautious military estimates on every side is that if the war continues, at least will die, and everybody kinda sorta goes back to their original borders or close to it. We might see something akin to a negotiated peace, keeping in mind how much the different parties, for example, didn't allow the other party historically to do things. For example, how strict they were in the Baltics and how strict they were in the Caribbeans. I'm not liking the national focus tree style of Hearts of Iron 4. I'm not liking it. I'm liking the European Union event structure much better. It is much more versatile. Though I am not liking that they coded them into nations forming nations, to regions forming nations. For example, there is an event whereby if you are one of the Nordic nations and you conquer the other Nordic nations, you can form the Scandinavian Union. But there is no event on if, for example, Germany forms Scandinavian Union and then gives it freedom as Scandinavian Union. You know what I mean? There's no event for that. There's an event for that in Hearts of Iron. All of these games seem to have different limitations. This is my genuine attempt, this whole Gallareue thing, my genuine attempt to be respectable. Where on earth is my bomb cleaning device? Where on earth could it be? I'm not seeing it on the table. It is not in the ash. Oh, there it is. Aha. Kato, kun noi ei kaikki silloin, kun sun oppositio sulle sanoo näistä asioista, niin ole sitä, että ne yrittää haastaa riitaa. Joskus ne on. Niin kuin, että jos sä saat oikeasti semmoisen fiiliksen, että joku pyytää jotain reformia sen takia, kun ne haastaa riitaa, niin joskus se on ihan sitäkin. Useimmiten pointtikin. I'm speaking Finnish again. You'll live with it. So I have a gameplay of Europa Universalis, which I'm doing right now, where I am allowed one cheat and one cheat only, and the game is damn hard. And I am usually not allowed any cheats in this game, but I'm trying it with one very specific cheat. As the Swedish nation, I am forming the Scandinavian Union from what is historically the Kalmar Union by going to a Scandinavian Union or Sweden completely annexing the two nations without a fight, and then dealing with the lower administrative efficiency and the higher number of revolts, as well as the fact that the other nations will most likely see you as a very tempting target due to your very low administrative efficiency, and just seeing what I survive with. Historically, the reason this never happened is because the Danish monarchy of the time, who controlled the Kalmar Union, were known to be, what's the word, very pro-Danish. And later, when the Swedes had their own version of it, they were very pro-Swedish. And none of the groups had enough power at any point to overcome all the other groups during their height. So it formed into a nation. So what I'm going to do, I have tried this once. I have tried this once, and if you do it immediately in the game, the other nations, as well as your low stability, will kill you. It will trigger an immediate civil war, which you will lose. So what I'm doing, what I am going to do is I'm going to increase the administrative efficiency of my own nation first, such as increasing my stability and building a stockpile of resources and such. And when the timing is right, I'm going to form the Scandinavian Union. And then I'm going to see how well I do in this game. I'm going to be absolutely pivened because this is one of the hardest games, but I'm going to try. It will be humbling and humiliating, but I will do so. So I will do that in another broadcast. So now we have an outline. We will be maintaining our mild hostility towards all the countries that are participating in this sterilization thing. We will be continuing with our state-like apparatus of working to building a nation where such things do not exist. We do not sterilize our own. We will continue to add to what has been by psychers called our core star and its mellow atmosphere. But for now, we will end this stream here, and then we will begin the Europa Universalis stream. Thank you for watching. That is the trans right situation.